Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that helps you become your best self. And today we're talking about how to plan your best year, being open to change and growth this year. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on social media. I am at Sabrina Joy Barroso on both TikTok and Instagram, and I would love to say hi to you over there. So please come join me and take a peek down in the show notes below, especially if you need to know how to spell my name for you to find me on socials and to sign up for the weekly newsletter that is back on every Wednesday that goes out in the evening around 6, 7 PST, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm trying to make it more fun and add more things that actually, make you want to run to your email and read it. So check that out. And there's a couple of links down there. I really want to push having someone to vent to, having someone that's emotionally available for you to share what's going on in your life with them. And if you do not have that person where they just don't listen or they just can't handle the burden of what you're going through, even if it's like something super small in your perspective, I want to offer you the opportunity to vent anonymously through a link down there where you can just like vent, get it out. And again, I won't know who you are because it's anonymous, and I just go in there every now and again, look over what people share, pray about like what you're going through. And it's a way for you to get it off your chest to help you mentally move forward. So check that out, as well as a place for you to anonymously submit topic suggestions at any time. You're welcome to send me a DM on Instagram or an email at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com about anything. But you can also send me topic suggestions there. But if you don't want me to know that it's from you, but you still want to suggest it, so I talk about it in the future, you can do so via that anonymous form through Google. So try out any of those and check out anything else in the show notes. But let's go ahead and jump right to today's topic, which I'm very excited that this is the first episode of season 4 of the podcast and of 2023. So crazy. Here we go. Again, it's titled How to Plan Your Best Year, Being Open to Change and Growth This Year. So I used to believe you had to have everything so ready to go at the top of the year. Like January 1st, you're jumping into your diet, your workout plan, your reading list, your stretching plan, your plan to do all of these things that you were going to do. And if you didn't, nothing was going to work out. The year was just going to be a loss. It was going to be like, what did you even do this for? It felt like if you didn't know what was supposed to happen, every step of the way that you created this plan for, typically things that really hone in on personal development, which also could be working out and doing a diet plan and all of these things. It just meant if you didn't know every step of the way, that it was going to fail. And no one wants to fail at their goals and intentions and, their resolutions every single year. But it felt like if you didn't have it all figured out before the year started and on day one, if you didn't jump right into it, you were going to fail. It was as if everything was hinging on all these decisions and commitments at the beginning of the year. When in reality, so many changes and shifts can happen at each stage of whatever you're working on. And that will require us to refocus, replan, shift your perspective in a new direction, all kinds of things. And that literally can happen, I would say, even within the first week of you starting a goal or an intention that you have. A very classic example would be if you started a workout plan and by day 7, at the end of that week, you realize that you may have gone too hard despite you wanting to lose a lot of weight or become strong or do this, that, and the other. You're like, man, I am so sore and broken down. And it's not just because I haven't been working out. It's because I'm pushing myself too hard and I am on the road to very breaking down my body so I can't even work out. And you're like, oh, we need to shift. We need to maybe slow it down. Maybe you're trying to train for a marathon, which I've tried to do that multiple times for half marathons. And I've jumped back into a running program way too quick. And it was an absolute big mistake because I ended up getting terrible shin splints. And what are those pains called when it's like an overuse injury that happens because you just did too much all at once and you didn't allow yourself to shift and change as you were going through and developing your goals and intentions and plans and all that stuff. So it's important for us to realize that refocusing, replanning, and shifting our perspective in a new direction is so important when we're trying to plan our year. And it's important for us to recognize that change happens. It just does. That's just life. And it's not something to run from or to fear. And oftentimes, change is an opportunity to shift into a better direction and towards something that we often didn't even realize would be better and more suited for that season of life that we are currently in. A lot of times we get so focused on the plans that we personally create, even if it was created with someone else's help, expertise, taking a lot of time to figure out which way we should go and the path we should take and breaking that down in steps and doing it all like the best way that we can. But we don't realize that there might be change that needs to happen, right? And just a side note, if you need help learning how to create like the best goals for having your best year, if you listen to the episode that happened right before this one, I have like 5 steps to help you create the best goals with not all of the typical advice and tips that you would normally get if you were just to Google it on the internet. So take a listen to that as well. But again, we have to realize we can't run away from change. Change is just going to happen. The further we run from it, it's going to chase us down even more. It's going to feel like such a heavier burden than it may have felt initially. And who wants that? Who wants to have a heavier burden when it comes to change? So we just need to accept the fact that it will enter our lives at different times, at different moments. Maybe we will instigate it. Maybe other situations and problems and issues that we run into will instigate it. It doesn't really matter. We can just handle it as it comes, right? I just think that we can. And so, again, it's important to recognize that oftentimes change will come our way. A shift in our life will come. And what we wanted to do is just not right for the season of life that we're in. And that's absolutely okay. There's no problem with that. We see a problem with it because we wanted things to go the way that we wanted them to go. We had a plan. We had it all worked out, right? You're like, it was perfect. But it may not have been as perfect as we thought. And maybe we're just not ready for it. Mentally, emotionally, financially, maybe we just don't have the time, and it might ruin other opportunities that we don't know are waiting for us if we just get a little bit further down the road in our life. So when we go into creating goals and intentions at the top of the year, that's very classic for many of us to do, regardless of whether you really fully believe in resolutions or not. Sometimes if you don't, you still want to create a couple goals that are reasonable, or maybe just carry in from the previous year that were going well that you just want to kind of stack on top of. It's important to acknowledge that the plan we create can and probably will change. And we should be flexible and open-minded when that happens. And I know that's not easy. It's not. Believe me, I will be wanting to tear my hair out and scream and just kick the wall and just want to yell into my pillow, which I often do when I just need to let out some frustration really quick because my husband has yet to buy me a punching bag. So if you'd like to, contribute to that fund, please let me know. I think I even have a way for you to donate if you want to do that. But I'm just kidding. You don't have to. But it's I will freak out because I'm but I did all the research. I spent all the time really trying to figure out if this was going to work, and it seemed like it was going to work, and then it just doesn't work. It doesn't want to work out. It's why? What the heck? Why don't you want to work out? But yeah, we need to really understand that change will come, and we need to really work on being flexible and open-minded when those kind of things do happen. It's just so super important. And it's important to realize that if we do go into our goals and intentions and plans and change does come about, it doesn't mean that everything is going to fall apart when we have to go in that different direction, or realize that this is a kicker. This is such an important thing. So I hope you're listening up just closely, real closely. But, it's not going to fall apart because we have to, or we, feel the need to go in a different direction. But we also realize that what we wanted isn't something we want now, right? What we wanted isn't something that we want now. And I think that's hard for us to admit to ourselves that like we wanted it then based on, keeping up with the Joneses, or we thought that's what we were interested in. We were actually only settling for what we believe we deserved and what we needed in our life. Ooh, we need to work on that too. Work on not settling. Let's talk about that more this year in a different episode. But it's hard for us to admit that like, wow, we wanted it so much then. And then we were able to go after it. And then we're like, no, absolutely not. This is just not for me. And it's also not something you need to feel guilt or shame over. And again, we're talking about when you create goals and intentions and resolutions and you realize that those things have to change and shift and go in a different direction, you don't have to feel bad about that. You don't have to put on that guilt or shame because you're thinking that people will judge you for it not working out. And, let's be honest, people probably will judge you and cast their opinion upon you because that's just how people can be. They are projecting their own insecurities onto so many other people because they have yet to take the time to actually work on their own issues, their own struggles, right? They're not looking like within and trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to work on? No, they're just casting it all out and like, hey, I think it's really sucky that you do that thing. And sometimes it's people like looking in a mirror of like, that's what they do. What you're doing right now is what they're doing. And they're like, I don't like that thing, but I can't look inward yet at myself and fix it. So I'm just going to judge you for it because it feels like the thing I need to do right now. Right? It's tough. It's really tough. Anyway, let's rein it back in. Let's rein it back in. So not everything is going to fall apart because we go in a different direction or realize that that's just not what we want anymore. And we don't need to feel guilt or shame. And it's important, as I say often, that mistakes and failures are life's best learning lessons. We learn just as much, if not more. I would really push that we learn more from experiences that don't go as planned as the things that in comparison to the things that work out, the things that we accomplish and are amazing and we get a pat on the back for and we feel so good about, we do learn things from there. We do have experiences that we'll be able to reflect on later in the future that will help us. However, think about it. Just reflect back on any recent mistakes and failures and things that were really difficult and didn't work out the way that you had planned and anticipated and wanted even. Right? And it's interesting to think about how things will turn out the way that they were, planned, especially if it was by someone else or anticipated, but we just didn't realize that that's what the outcome was. But it's just not the outcome that we wanted. It's the outcome that was just going to happen, but we did not want that outcome. But again, mistakes and failures, you will learn so much more from those experiences because you'll learn what you need to not do in the future or what needs to be tweaked or re-examined if you need to try again in a different way, right? You'll be able to really reflect on how you were able to respond and how you reacted and how maybe we don't need to do it that way anymore and all kinds of different things. It's just amazing how much we can learn. So please keep that in mind when you are going through those really hard times and you're just like, this feels like a punishment. This feels like, why am I going through this? You're crying out to God, why me? Why am I going through this? And it really sucks in the moment. And it's hard to shift our mindset in the moment. But if we can get the practice of doing so and really taking a step back and widening our perspective to be like, okay, wait, instead of crying out and being like, why is this happening to me? Which again, you can still do that and still do this part of, if you do it for that and then you're like, wait, hold on. We've got that out. Let's widen our perspective and ask okay, what can we learn here? How can we grow from this? Which I know some of this can sound cheesy, but it's important things to ask ourselves. And how can we continue to move forward? How can we continue to push forward? How can we continue to, not give up? How can we continue to not give up right now? So that's why, talking about all of these things and creating goals for the year ahead and really understanding that in creating those goals and planning for the year, that we have to be flexible mentally, I wanted to talk to you about how we can set our mindset up for success by creating a plan for the year that allows us to accomplish our goals while also allowing us to grow and develop into our best selves with less resistance towards the unknown. Because again, unknown and change, very similar things. There's going to be a lot of unknowns that are going to just pop up in our lives. And as opposed to fighting those things, it's like, how can you lean into it? Not too much so that you lose yourself or you lose the plan or you get unfocused and a little shaky, but enough to be like, okay, what can we do now? What should we be doing now, right? And allowing ourselves, again, listen to this word, allowing ourselves to grow and develop into our best selves. Sometimes we're holding ourselves back because we don't know what that means, and it might be different than we anticipated, right? It might be a different person than we thought that we would be, right? And we're not ready for that. People in our lives may not be ready for that. That's fine. A lot of times we aren't ready for what happens, and we just have to adapt, flexible, in the moment, lean into it. So I want to give you 5 tips on how to plan your best year with mental flexibility. Again, if you need help in creating goals and like wanting to achieve your dreams and have like the best year have the best year this year pertaining to creating goals, like the best goals you can, please listen to the episode previous to this that will help you to create the best goals you can. And then you can take those goals and listen to this episode again if you need to on how to accomplish those goals this year with being like hopefully the best year with having mental flexibility as well. Before I dive into our 5 tips, as always, I want to let you know that all of this is based on my own research and knowledge and the experience I have been through and the experiences of others that I'm able to share. If you find that what I'm about to share with you does not align with what you believe will help you in planning the best year and having mental flexibility, totally fine. I encourage you to seek a counselor or a therapist. You could have that one-on-one opportunity to really figure out what would be best for you and how to plan like your best year and have mental flexibility. But if you're not interested in that, the next thing I would suggest is going over to our best friend, Google, and typing in how to plan your best year and with mental flexibility. And you'll come up with so many articles and comments and websites that'll help you maybe find a better way for you to do this. Okay, let's jump right in. 5 tips. Here we go. And I always hope that most of my tips are not the ones that you would typically find on page 1 of the search page if you do go to Google. Sometimes they are. And it's good to have a reminder of those things because we think that they are antiquated and old and unnecessary when really they're like the best piece of gold we could hold in our hand to become our best selves. And we just forget about that because everything needs to be new and flashy and shiny when actually that's just a lie we tell ourselves, and that's not true either. So 5 tips, here we go. Number 1, create monthly check-ins. Create monthly check-ins. So when we're talking about planning our best year, we're literally talking about spending a little bit of time at the top of the year. And I'm not saying it has to be on the 1st. It could be literally in the 2nd week of January, where you just evaluate the year and you look at the months and you're like, okay, what day or days to give yourself a little bit of room to flex would be good days to do like a monthly check-in. And in your monthly check-in, you would really just review, okay, how far have my goals gone? What's the progression look like? Have I broken my goals down into enough steps where I feel like it's easy to go step to step and continue to progress as I wanted? And really to ask yourself, are these goals working out for me? Do I feel like these are the right goals and intentions and resolutions that I should be chasing after? Is this a waste of time and energy? I hope not. I absolutely hope not. So, but if it is, it's okay, right? Because we've already talked about how mental flexibility and, leaning into change and going a different direction is okay and great and amazing and something that we should welcome. And we need to do it more and more for us to be comfortable with it. But create those monthly check-ins. So for me, I would say that at the top of like February, maybe we'll say like the 3rd or the 4th, I'll be like, okay, well, how this list of goals that I made, how is it going? Does anything need to be tweaked? Like, for an example, one of my goals was to read 2 nonfiction books and 1 fiction book every single month. So by the time we get to February, I'm like, did I read 2 nonfiction books and 1 fiction book? And how did that go? Did I feel like I was pushing myself and not actually enjoying the process of reading? Because I do love reading, right? And should I evaluate next month if I need to add an extra book in because I read those books too quickly? Or do I feel like I need to take a book away because adding 3 books, going from like 1/0 books a month to 3 books can feel a little overwhelming? Or am I choosing books that are difficult to read and not necessarily the books that I need to be reading, but the books that I feel like I have to be reading so I could like look smart and be able to brag about it because it's like this big, thick, heavy book? Like, am I doing it for the right reasons? So have these monthly check-ins with yourself, like already kind of set them up. Of course, that's why I said, like, maybe you can choose a couple days so that if one day you end up having to do something else, something pops up, then you still have that kind of on the calendar to be like, okay, let's do this monthly check-in. And literally you could do this check-in in like 15 minutes. And some people might say like, oh, that probably would only take 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe. I would say 15 minutes because I want to take time to actually review every goal and like really ask myself, how do I feel about this? Could this be better? Should this be pulled back? Does anything need to change? What can we do here? And be honest with yourself. Really take time to be honest and not lie to yourself, right? Because if you get all the way to June and you realize you haven't been reading any books, so you had too many books to read and just felt overwhelming, then you could have already like nipped that in the bud in like February or March and still felt like you're progressing on that goal and felt really good about that challenge that you gave to yourself, right? And even if you start a new goal, like in June, you realize that you just realized in June, and that was the earliest you could realize it, which is fine, that the goal and the intention and the resolution that you're going after just isn't going to work. It's falling apart. It's just like there's so many things about it that's just not going to work anymore. Maybe it was working for a little bit and now it's just not because of other circumstances that have arisen. And that's fine. That's fine. That's life. That's like real life, right? You're not giving up, but you realize that you just can't do this anymore and you have to change it. If you have to institute a new goal or change your goal like halfway through, still create that monthly check-in. Don't think that, oh, well, we're halfway through the month. I don't need to do a check-in on that thing anymore because it's not the same as it was when we began. Still do that check-in. Still be like, okay, well, from June to July, when you do your July check-in, how are we doing? How is it going? Do we feel like the changes that we made and shifted to have made this better and more beneficial to me? So create monthly check-ins, okay? Number 2, celebrate every progression and milestone. Celebrate every progression and milestone. It is so important for us to celebrate every time that we hit a milestone or we progress in a goal, no matter how small it is. And this is me, again, driving home that when you create a goal, you need to break it down into the smallest steps that you can, so that you can celebrate those moments, which will continue to feed into motivation that is nice to have, even though we really should be focusing more on, locking into discipline. But motivation is nice. It like creates that bright, happy, excited feeling of continuing to work on whatever the goal is. And so if we are able to continue to breed and create and foster more motivation for us to continue to work hard, especially during those really, really hard times in our lives where we're still trying to go after goals, but all kinds of crap is just raining from the sky. It's so nice. So by celebrating those, and also if you struggle with self-esteem and self-confidence and things like that, you can start and continue to build the foundation of increasing your self-confidence and your self-esteem by validating yourself and patting yourself on the back and celebrating these milestones and these progressions in your goals and intentions every single time, right? Some people might think that you're celebrating too much, but if you are someone that's like never celebrated, or you feel like you do feed into the opinions and judgments of people that are telling you you're celebrating too much, if you actually start doing it, you will see that it just fills you with so much love and appreciation from yourself. and knowing that you can do these things despite what other people have said. And you don't have to do it the way that they're telling you to do it. Who cares? Everyone's going to do things their own way, and that's how it should be done. It's just how it should be done. So celebrate every progression, every milestone, everything. And this, again, can be as simple as if you have a big project in your house to eliminate, I don't know, let's say 25% of like the stuff that you have, right? And you break it down by room, right? You're like, okay, well, today I need to work on the office. And then when you break down the office, you break it down by like your desk and then like this cabinet and then this shelf. Let's say that you clear everything you need to clear it off of the shelf. And then you're like, that's checked off the list. And you're like, yay, I did the shelf. It makes me feel so good. I feel so proud of myself that I was able to get the shelf done. And then next you move to the desk and you're like, yay, I got the desk done. And you see, you're just going to continue to check things off. And it feels so good to check those things off, whether it's like electronically in your notes or literally on a piece of paper, which I love that so much. I like doing both, to be honest with you. And it just fills you with so much joy and excitement. So being able to check that off and like really continue to pour into yourself that you are able to accomplish things, even small things that continue to add up to big things. Because let's say that you'll check off all the little small parts in that office and then you get the office done and you're like, oh my gosh, I got the office done. And now I can move over to the bedroom, which is broken down into 5 pieces. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I got half this project done because I got half the rooms in the house done. And maybe you get it done quicker than you thought. And it just feels so good to get things done. And you know that you did it. And it's amazing. So continue to start and continue to celebrate every progression and milestone from your goals every single month. And even when you do your monthly check-ins, you can reflect back on like, okay, did I celebrate all of the little milestones and every time I did another thing? And how do I feel about that? And do I feel like I need to celebrate in different ways to help continue to boost that excitement inside of myself? And have I been getting like negative feedback that's been getting in my head and I'm allowing it to, get in the way of me allowing myself to celebrate? And do I feel more confident and have higher self-esteem in other areas of my life that doing this, celebrating milestones, might be contributing to? Ask yourself those questions. Number 3, decide what you need to let go of. Decide what you need to let go of. You might be thinking, Sabrina, how does deciding what you need to let go of helpful in planning your best year of mental flexibility? Well, when you think about what you need to let go of and what you need to not do this year that you may have done in previous years, or you think you have to do this year because someone told you so or whatever, and you don't really have to do it, right? So an actual legal binding or person-to-person binding requirement, you might think that you need to do some stuff, and you might think that those things get in the way of you having a good year, get in the way of you accomplishing your goals, get in the way of you allowing yourself to widen your perspective and be flexible when change comes about. So maybe things that you'll let go of is being as much of a people pleaser as you are. And I'm not going to say that you're just going to decide on day one that you're no longer going to be a people pleaser so that you can plan to have a good year and not allow the needs of others to trump the needs of yourself and what you need to accomplish. Because pulling back from that behavior and mindset takes time. If you can do it cold turkey, God bless you. It's amazing. You're awesome. You're better than me for sure. But I don't think it's necessary for us to do a cold turkey. I think we can do it like a slow and go kind of thing. We're continuing to like slowly wean away from those behaviors and mindsets and really realize one day the strength that we have to focus on ourselves more than others, which will help to give us more strength to give back and help other people. You know what I mean? Actually give ourselves some time and some love and some care and some attention. So deciding what you need to let go of, maybe you need to let go, start letting go of becoming a people pleaser. And by mid-year, by the end of the year, you'll be able to reflect back and see how much better and stronger you are at letting that go. Maybe you need to let go of certain relationships that are getting in the way of you actually having a good year and not having to continually deal with their crap and their drama and the things that they continue to bring into your life that you feel is a burden and overwhelming and not something you want to deal with, right? You probably will have to have the mental flexibility to, deal with any drama that comes from you trying to take a step back, but that will continue to give you strength, whether you see it in the moment or not. So decide what you want to let go of, because that will help you understand what you no longer will hopefully have to deal with as the year progresses, and you can plan to do things that you maybe felt otherwise you couldn't do because those things were in your way. Like maybe the friends that you have now are getting in the way of you wanting to try new hobbies or befriend other people, right? That are really, really cool. And you're like, but these other friends are so needy and they get in my way and they say they're going to not be my friend and be jealous when I want to go talk to other people or not spend time with them, right? So think about that. Think about what you need to let go. Maybe it's things in your house that are just taking up space and that you don't need anymore, right? You just need to purge it. And it's like a trigger, a reminder of something that you don't need anymore, and you just need to let it go. Maybe there are bills and things that you pay for that you no longer need that are getting in your way. Maybe it's as simple as letting go of that cup of coffee that you buy every morning at the coffee shop because you'd rather save up that money and spend it on something else, investing in something else that's more important to you during this season of life. It's not saying that you will never go back and do that again. It just means that this season of life, you would prefer to save that money and contribute it to something else. And that will help you plan your best year because you're no longer spending that money on that thing. And you maybe have that extra time in the morning to do something else because you're not spending it getting that cup of coffee. I don't know. You know what I mean? So decide what you need to let go of, because that will really help you plan your best year. And be flexible in knowing that just because you let go of something right now doesn't mean that you have to let go of it forever if you don't want to. Number 4, don't compare this year to years past. Don't compare this year to years past. It's interesting because when I was writing this notes, I almost wrote don't compare this year to last year. But then I realized that sometimes we're not necessarily comparing this year to last year. We're comparing this year to 5 years ago where we felt like everything was on point. It was like what we would consider the perfect year. Everything worked, right? But it's unfair to compare. Wow, kind of a rhyme. This year, the one that we're in right now, to any year that happened in the past, because the circumstances were different. You were a different person, different season of life. All the things were different, right? Especially if you find that your financial stability has grown, you have different friends, you live in a different place. How could you possibly ever compare this year to that year when everything is so drastically different? It's also the same as how you can't necessarily compare how well you felt like you grew last week to this week or last week to last month, because we are continuing to grow and become our best selves every single day. And that person, that best self, will look different every single day depending on what's happening that day, depending on the circumstances, depending upon how we are allowing ourselves to live at that day. Some days, if you were to put it on a spreadsheet, will look higher or lower than others, but it doesn't mean that's good or bad. It's just a different version of ourselves for that day. I truly believe that. We can easily look back and be like, oh, I've grown into a better person from this month to this month from last month, sure. But also, we don't need to chastise ourselves and put shame on ourselves that we feel like we were a better person 2 days ago than we are today. It's just we're dealing with different circumstances today. We're still working on react versus response, and we are trying to do our best. So don't compare this year to years past. It's unnecessary. Compare this year to this year, right? You really actually don't need to compare the year to anything. You just need to reflect on, again, with your monthly check-ins, and you can do check-ins even more than that. You can do a check-in every week if you like. And then you could also do monthly check-ins, but then also a quarterly check-in if you wanted to check in on the whole quarter and how things have been going. and really see like how far you've progressed in the things that you want to do. You don't really need to compare. You just need to like evaluate, okay, well, what's been going on and what have I allowed to get in my way and how have circumstances been better and how has my mindset been and have there been new people that have come into my life and what struggles have I experienced that could possibly contribute to how things are different. So it's unnecessary to compare year to year because it's not really going to give you any real data because every year is so different. And especially if people were going to start comparing 2019 to 2020, like vastly different. And even if people decide in the future to compare 2019 to 2022, where things were a little bit more, laid back, at least here in the United States, it still would be vastly different. And even when we're light years ahead, we're comparing like 2019, 2018 to, 2015. It still will be very different because we've gone through so much that have taught us so many different new things and basically created us into being different people in good ways. It still will not be the same and will not be comparable really in any way. I know that people often will compare year to year if they're comparing like financial crises and economic downfall and all these things. But when you're comparing like your life and what you were able to accomplish and do and go through, it's not beneficial to you to compare year to year. Okay, number 5 and the last one that I have to share with you on how to plan your best year with mental flexibility is to push through the pain and don't give up. Now, this is probably the most classic example I can give in the whole entire list is push through the pain and don't give up. There's going to be pain. 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 I promise you. That sounds very negative, nefarious, awful. Not fun, Sabrina, right? Yeah, it's not fun, but it's real. And I'm here to be open and honest and transparent and vulnerable and real with you, right? There will be pain, and your pain will look different than someone else's, so don't compare. It's unnecessary. It's not a competition. The real competition is with yourself and like how you're able to get through that pain and whether you were able to not give up. And again, if you change course, it's not necessarily giving up. It's realizing that what was going on is not working and not helping, not beneficial, and that you needed to shift for the better of everything. Not giving up is more of like just giving up, walking away, not really evaluating the situation, not trying to shift or change anything, just giving up and being like, I can't do this at all, whatsoever, at all. So push through the pain. There's going to be pain. There's going to be hard times. There's going to be issues. And you don't want to give up on yourself. There's going to be people that are going to come down on you, that are going to be jealous, that are going to, project their insecurities on you. There's going to be people that just want to push you down and want to see you fail because they're failing. And all they want to do is cause other people pain because they are currently feeling pain. And they don't know how to not feel pain right now because their self-reflection is non-existent. It's non-existent. So don't give up. Keep going. If you want to have your best year yet, you want in December of 2023, or whenever you're listening to this, if you're not listening to this at the top of 2023, it doesn't matter. You want by the end of the year for you or some sort of time period that you have set to be able to look back and be like, I didn't get up. I didn't give up. I kept going. I kept pushing through. I did my best. I was flexible. I widened my perspective. I shifted when I needed to. We made changes. We did the work. And if you can honestly tell yourself that you did the work and you're proud of what you did, then you didn't give up and you pushed through the pain. And don't be whiny. I was trying to find a more eloquent way to say that, and I decided not to. Don't be whiny. Don't be a victim. Don't be like, oh my gosh, my problems are so much harder than everyone else's. Maybe. But again, we can't compare problems here because we honestly don't know what everyone's going through. Like clearly, like to the deep core. We don't. And how is that going to help anything? You complaining that you feel like your problems are harder than everyone else's. Honestly, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And I'm not saying that like not acknowledging your problems is the way to go. Absolutely not. I was talking to my husband about that the other day about how, I thought he was, and I was wrong. I admitted that. But I was talking about, acknowledging our problems and what we've gone through. And I thought he was trying to compare and say like, well, anytime I've gone through problems, I just think about how, people in other countries are less fortunate than us. And I was like, nope, immediate no, because that's not necessarily where he was going. But I was saying like, just because other people in other countries probably have it worse than us, and again, speaking from someone that lives in the United States, doesn't mean that our problems don't exist, doesn't mean that our problems mean less or are insignificant. Our problems are just different. And as long as we're not falling into some sort of shame spiral or being a victim about it, it's okay to recognize in it and share that we have problems, as long as we don't allow those things to control us. But we will go through problems. It's just life. We will need to go through pain to learn things. And as long as we push through and realize that we will learn so much through those things, it will be amazing. But again, don't be a victim about it. Don't cry about it. Don't whine about it. You can cry, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at. Let's not throw temper tantrums like a toddler or a baby and whine. Oh, yes. And also the point I was going to get back around to, almost lost that in the tangent. Oh my gosh. So many things lost in the tangent. It's like a black hole. Is that if you want to, obviously, and you struggle with being a victim, and you can admit that to yourself. You can be honest and be like, yeah, I'm always like acting like what was me. I would encourage you to read the book of Job in the Bible. Read it. Give it a peruse. It can kind of help with perspective shift. It's very it'll feel very dramatic. But I think it'll be helpful. So just consider that. But if you don't want to read the Bible, that's totally fine. I'm just here to offer ideas. But yeah, let's just try not to feel woe is me. Let's try to really consider the fact that hard things happen. It really sucks. Let's admit that. Let's vent it, get it off our chest, and then push through and continue on. Ask for help. Do what we need to do to not give up. But that's it. That's all 5 tips on how you can plan your best year and have mental flexibility. So I really hope that these tips have helped you and been beneficial to you. And I encourage you to share it with someone else that could be helped by this. And don't forget that I always have actual show notes from the show if you need a little recap and a lot of the things that I said on the show. Not everything I went into deep detail about, but a good overview if you needed to share actual written notes with someone. So do not forget that. But that's it. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. I appreciate you downloading, listening, and sharing the show. You guys are absolutely amazing. And welcome into season 4. Yay. Until next time, have a good one, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.